Hello and welcome to another Wargame Red Dragon video with me, Bubblebox, and today we're just going to continue having a look at the new units that come with the third DLC. Remember when looking at this video that the stats on these units on some of them are certainly going to change, and they may change on a number of them in the January window when they bring out the DLC for real. This is the beta version, of course, but the units are definitely going to change. I thought it was definitely worth having a look at them. And the Danish in the past have been a bit weak, one of the weaker nations, but they've got a few decent units added to them now. A couple in particularly really do stand out, or 3 or 4 actually really stand out, and we'll be having a look at those as we have a look at all the units. So if we start off with the logistics, and they've got a new supply truck, the Unimog Cargo, a basic, a basic addition to the game. I mean, we all know what supply trucks are and what they do, but they've got 2 now. They've got the Jupiter and they've got the Cargo. The Cargo's smaller, same sort of strength, and that's a little bit slower than the Jupiter, which can make a big difference when ferrying backwards and forwards between a fob or between a helicopter and your ground units at the front line. Only carries 500 litres, whereas the Jupiter carries 1,000. Of course, you will get a lot more of them. So the Jupiter you get 11, and the new one you're going to get 20. So not a lot in it, to be honest. I think I'll probably stick with the Jupiter myself if I had a Danish deck. So moving on to the infantry, and we'll start off with the FKP commandos. Now the Danish, I don't think, no, they didn't have any special forces initially, so this is a whole new thing for the Danish. Got special forces now, the FKBs, and they can come in Lynx or no Jupiters. And a nice addition, they've got a nice close quarters combat machine gun, good for urban warfare. They've got the rocket launcher, 20 AP power and 60% accuracy, pretty standard for a 30-point elite commando squad, and a nice primary weapon as well. So a nice all-round urban sort of fighting weapon there for you, the FKPs. And then we've got a basic infantry squad coming into the game, the Liv Garden 90s, that should be, shouldn't it? I've got Liv Garden 90s. It's got 85s. Okay, well in the patch notes it says Liv Garden 90s, but actually in the game they are actually Liv Garden 85s, and the ones they had already were the Liv Garden, so I'm not quite sure what's happened there. I guess that's a slight mistake that will be corrected in the January update. But they are basically, if we compare the Liv Gardens with the Liv Garden 85s, the Liv Garden 85s I think are the new one. What's different? Basically the primary is the same, the machine gun's the same, so it's just a rocket launcher. You've got a slightly better AP power, 20 instead of 18. Apart from that, not a lot better really. I don't think that's about it. Same number of rockets, yeah. Oh, slightly better range as well, 875 compared to 700. So do you want to pay the extra 5 points basically for a slightly better range and a slightly better AP power? That's entirely up to you. I'll probably pay the little bit extra. It's 5 points. I mean, 5 points comes in no time at all in most multiplayer games, does it? And they come in a couple of different types of truck, not in any helicopters though. So then we've got the, I'm going to attempt to pronounce this, the Ilstottergroupers, and the Ilstottergrouper 85s. 2 new additions, fire support, so these can fire at actually infantry because they've got an HE power of 2, but then mainly against anti-tank as well. With the basic one has got an AP power of 18, and the slightly upgraded one has got an AP power of 20. The accuracy is actually the same. The strength's only 5. I'm always steer away from these a little bit because they get hit by an artillery piece or something. They just tend to die, and they've got silly buckets on their head as well, which puts me off a little bit. Can't take them seriously. So, but yeah, they've got the same primary. It's just a little difference in the AP power. Again, do you want to pay the extra for that little bit of AP power? In this case probably it's another like 50% higher price for only a couple of AP powers. I'll probably stick with the basic one there for me, although you may have a different approach, I don't know. Finally, in the infantry section, we've got the LLRKT M93 Stingers, 2-man squads with funny buckets on their head again. much of an upgrade on the old Hamlet. They did have the old Hamlet before, bring that up as well, and you can see these are a lot better. They cost twice as much, but worth every penny. Accuracy has gone up from 35% to 70%. The availability will be lower, of course, for the 20.1s and the 10.1s, but you know, they're just so much better, aren't they? And if you don't want to micro all these massive hamlets around everywhere, just getting a few of these guys out instead into some strategically decent positions on the map can take down aircraft. Put a couple of these together, or helicopters and stuff. Got decent range against helicopters, and we'll shoot at any aircraft that are flying over. So I'd probably go for the Stingers. Again, the real difference is the accuracy. Look at it, it's a much better. Oh sorry, and the HE power, so they do more damage when they do hit as well. Definitely worth the extra 10 points. Nice manpad unit there for the Danish. So moving on to the support. Now I'm going to be really interested in the support. They've got a couple of really amazing additions, and we'll have to wait to see in January what happens to the stats to these particular units. I'm sure you can guess one of them, but there's another one, a sneaky one there, that's really good as well, that some people haven't noticed. So first of all, we'll have a look at the worst one, which is this GMC 450. Pretty terrible, looks like a World War II truck. It's got no range against helicopters. If you want something really cheap, you can scatter just about everywhere all over the map to just sort of harass enemy aircraft and helicopters. Oh, not aircraft, actually, it doesn't attack airplanes, just helicopters, and it could be used, I guess, against sort of, I don't know, ground support a little bit, but it's a terrible unit, isn't it? It's just not good. Why? No one's going to put this over and above some of the other awesome support units, especially when looking at the Scandinavian deck as a whole, not just as a Denmark deck. So very limited unit uses for this. Then we go from one extreme to the other when we look at the hugely popular, and when I say hugely popular, everyone gets these. I've played a few games against the Scandinavians, and these come out without fail right at the start of every game. They bring these out. There is a reason. They are absolutely, I won't say OP, but they are. I rarely say it, but I mean, these things will kill anything that's in their range. Why? Well, first of all, you've got a multitask unit to bring out at the start of a game, so you're only spending 70 points. You get 4 of these out at the start of a game. It's only going to cost you, what, 280 of your points, and you've got something you can hit ground units, you've got something and they can hit helicopters, and you've got something and they can hit aeroplanes, all with a good accuracy as well. Look at the range. Ground range 2275, so you're on a par with most tanks. Helicopters 2975, fantastic, outrange any helicopter. Airplanes, really nice as well. The downside about these, if there is a downside, is they are radar guided, so they can get taken out easily by seed aircraft, especially if they're at the front. But the rate of fire is so high, well, not so high, it's not massively high, but it's very high compared to something like a tank. So if you come up against a tank, this thing is going to get 3 or 4 shots off before your poor tank even gets 1 shot off against the automatic, and that's what makes them deadly against lightly armoured vehicles and medium tanks as well. It even can probably stun and kill heavy tanks as well. It's got a good suppression of 304. Availability wise, let's have a look. Well, what do you get? 4 hardened, so you don't get loads of them. I think what should happen personally to this thing in January is they should increase the price on the par perhaps with the Tunguska of 100, or even some of the better anti-air units of like the Patriot, 120 points. It needs to. I don't really want to see them buff the statistics, because it's really awesome to see these things on the battlefield with these stats, but they should definitely make them a lot more expensive, so people can't sort of spam them all out right at the beginning of the game and take all the land right before you kind of get moving. Really, I mean, they are, you can defend against them, you can battle against them, you can kill them with seed aircraft, and of course the awesome Russian Ka-52 with its seed missiles will take these things out. That's the best weapon to use against these this type of weapon. So remember, the Russian Ka-52, put that in your deck if you want to get rid of these automatics from near the front line. But an awesome weapon. Will it get nerfed? Probably. I hope they just increase the price and don't nerf the stats though. So I could go on forever about this weapon because it is amazing. Now then, also, however, the Danish have now got the Eyehawk and also a new one, the EDTS Hawk as well. We'll look at the Eyehawk first. 60 points, standard kind of Eyehawk that a lot of the other countries have. Really long range, of course, against aeroplanes and a decent range against helicopters. More of an anti-aircraft missile, really. Get 3 of them. They do run out of their missiles quite quickly, but they are very good at shooting down aircraft with an accuracy of 50%, and they fire really, really fast as well. But they are radar guided, so they can get shot down by sea aircraft. However, and this is the other gem in the Danish support units for the new ones, the EOTS Hawk has fantastic stats: 2652, 5200, 60% accuracy, HE power of 9. You know, a couple of these together are going to take down any aircraft, but, and this is the but, it is not radar guided, so it is impervious to seed aircraft. And that is what makes this unit amazing. It's only 15 points more than this, but you can get that and you can put it fairly close to the front line without having to worry about those seed aircraft coming over and taking out all your Hawks, because this is not radar guided. And you bring this thing out with a supply truck next to it, because its autonomy is not that good either, so it's going to need to be getting around, and it's going to be a really, really awesome weapon if used correctly on the battlefield. So that's 2 amazing support units for the Danish at the moment, the automatic and the EDTS Hawk. However, let's move on to the tanks. The Danish never had any really good tanks, and to be honest, despite the recent acquisition of the Leopard 1A5DK, they still haven't. It's a medium tank. It costs 60 points. It's got very limited armour, 10 front, 3 side, 2 back and top 2. It's got a decent gun with a decent AP power and a decent stabilizer. It's a decent tank. It's a good medium tank, although the armour lets it down a little bit. Costs 60 points. It is what it is. It's the best tank that the Danish have got. It's a nice addition, but they still haven't got one of the big heavies. Not yet, anyway. Recon, as far as the Recon's concerned, they've got this new recon unit, the, can I pronounce that? The Spejvagen. We'll call it the M95. Very good optics, that's the first thing to look at. Very, very good optics. It's fast as well, so it can get itself out of any danger. Not worried too much about its primary weapon, which is a machine gun. Not going to be looking for it to be using that, really. It's got a little bit of armour, not much, but it's not going to have a lot of armour because it's really speedy getting around the place. It's got good autonomy as well. So a nice, for 35 points, that's actually a pretty damned nice recon unit to have sort of rushing around the place. And then we've got some Jaeger 90s, which you can bring in Lynx or Jupiters again. Now these are nice. I do like these, and I'm warming to recon infantry that are actually fighting units in their own right as well, because they're kind of like having a dual role infantry fighting unit near the front line. And these things have got nice close quarters combat machine gun. They're coming groups of 10, which is a little bit limiting perhaps, but they're only 30 points, remember, for a recon and for a special forces unit as well. They've got a decent anti-tank weapon, 8 of them as well, 60% accuracy and 20 AP power, and sort of primary weapon which has got a quite high rate of fire actually, so these would be good close quarters and for reconning the enemy as well. And so you can have this a few of these things stuck at the front of your front line somewhere, just keep an eye on things, and if you are attacked by infantry, you've got these things are able to actually defend themselves as well, and they're fast, they can get out of the way if you need them to. So a very, very nice addition to the Danish recon units there, the Jaeger 90s. So moving on to the vehicles. Now I'm not a great believer of these anti-tank weapons, but the TOW 2 is one of the better anti-tank weapons on vehicles. It's a TOW 2. I mean, it's 45 points, you get 6 of them, it's a decent accuracy, at 70%, so most of them are kind of going to hit, and the AP power is of course quite awesome with these TOW 2s. For the price you get a massive AP power, a massive punch, but they're very, very vulnerable with no armour of course. So if you like using your old ATGM vehicles, have them. I tend not to use them much, but you know, It's an okay unit, I guess. You probably get a lot of them, do you? Yeah, you get 14 trained or 10 hardened as well. You can probably just go with the trained ones because they've got such a good accuracy already. Helicopters, they've got some well-needed addition to the helicopters. We'll have a look at, again, the Fennec. They've got a TOW-2 chopper now, so the TOW-2s are the ones you're going to be wanting. 70% accuracy, 50% stabilisers, they can shoot on the move. You probably want to be having them still though, because they've only got 4 rockets, and if half of them are missing, then you're only going to have 2 hitting, so you're going to want these still if you can while you're shooting, but they will fire on the move if taken by surprise, or they come across something unexpectedly while they're going towards their target, and a huge AP power of 25 and a very fast reload time as well, so they're going to be a decent addition to the Danish anti-tank weapons system. And they've also got the Fennec 20mm, the 20mm cannon. Let's get that one up as well. These things, well, if you've got a spare slot in your deck, you can consider these. I wouldn't get them as sort of a first choice, but they'd kind of be a second or third choice. Like if you've got a few points left over and you've got some space left in your helicopter tabs, then maybe take some of these. They are useful. They're kind of multi-role a little bit in that they can shoot down helicopters, or they can engage helicopters with a decent-ish kind of range, and they can also support by shooting infantry and lightly armoured vehicles with their ground cannon as well. They're fairly nippy at 290 kilometres. They're also very small, and they've got a strength of 6, so they can take possibly a hit and still get away as well. And they've got good autonomy as well, actually. Yeah, pretty nice little unit there. And it's only 30 points, so definitely worth considering. Aircraft wise, they've got 4 new aircraft, which is going to be, well, that has actually doubled the number of aircraft that the Danish had in their decks. So we'll have a look at this one first. I think this is the most expensive edition at 160 points, the F-16A MLU. It's a multi-role aircraft, and it's got these really nice AMRAAM missiles, again, fire and forget. You can sit this back and let it fire off its 7,000 meter range AMRAAM fire and forgets, and with decent accuracy and stabilizers and the usual stuff for the AMRAAM. Very fast, it's got a decent turning radius, good air, very good air detection as well, and a good, ECM, as far as ECMs go, of 40%. The other weapon it's got though is an anti-tank weapon, the Maverick missile. Again, these are fire and forget, so as soon as it's shot it's going to evac. It has got 4 to release, so you might want to keep an eye on it a little bit. So yeah, it's pretty good. For 160 points you get a tank buster and you get the AMRAAM missile, so I think that's pretty good value for an aircraft. Then we've got the Draken WDNS. It's a bomber. Looks a bit weird. Look at that. Looks a bit weird. Looks like it's got some sort of weird thing attached to its underbelly. There's a lot of bombs. 6 of them. 6 500 kilogram bombs. So it packs quite a punch. 15 HE power. Yeah, it's just a bomber really. Has it got ECM? Yeah, it's got 30% ECM, so it can, might be able to dodge a couple of missiles, but flying over enemy. It does have to fly over the enemy, of course, because it is a bomb rather than a missile, so just be aware of that as well. So a nice little addition there. Turning radius not too bad as well. It's got some ECM, so 120 points. Difficult unit to use well without losing it, but a nice addition. The CF-104 looks a bit like a starfighter. I guess it is a starfighter. It looks like a starfighter. Yeah. Just a cheap anti-air unit really. Medium range weapon. 3,500 meters against airplanes. Could use it against helicopters as well. Again, it wouldn't be a first choice, but if you've got space left over at the end of building a deck, you might consider putting these things in. They're not going to be the best though against some of the modern day aircraft. And then we've got the F1, is that 1000 or 100D? Rocket pod aircraft. Looks really weird actually. It looks quite old fashioned. It is 1956 build. I do quite like some rocket pod planes, although the ECM, no ECM is going to make it quite difficult to use in multiplayer with no ECM, so probably steer clear of this one personally, but probably might give it a go in a deck or two just to give it a chance, but it's not looking too hopeful for this guy, I'm afraid, as far as I'm concerned, especially with a nose that looks like that. So anyway, that's about it for this video, guys. Remember, the automatic is going to be nerfed in January. Make the most of it while you can. Thanks for watching. Please do comment, like and subscribe, especially give us a thumbs up if you will, and I'll see you in the next one.